Thank you for clicking on the video. Have you ever noticed this? Whenever there's a mass shooting, natural disaster, economic crisis, or even the death of some celebrity, be it legit or manufactured by the powers that be, the media is literally blanketed by it. What I mean is, as I was looking for an article to post to the blog this morning, all I see on absolutely every news source online is commentaries and videos about what happened in Las Vegas at that concert wherein so far 50 poor souls have died and upwards of 400 have been wounded. And don't get me wrong, if it turns out to be legit, as I believe it is, this is a very sad day for America and all those families involved. And so please pray for those families during their time of grief, especially those who have lost loved ones. And yes, I am not one to put my head in the sand and ignore the fact that our government is infamous for generating all sorts of false flag attacks to get political agendas pushed forward. But again, this one comes off as a bit more legit in that we don't see the normal actors that they usually put out there playing their part in high-definition videos, as we all saw in Sandy Hook and the Marathon bombing, just to name a couple. And don't get me started on what really happened on September 11th. I have a page all about that. But do you see what I see here? All week long, and this is every week, not just last week. I mean, all week long, except, of course, on the Vatican's pagan holy day of Sunday, wherein most political newsmakers like to rest, to literally worship Baal with the popes and the prelates. And when they do that, not a lot of news is usually reported on that day. I mean, the rest of the week, the news is just swamped with all sorts of political corruption on both sides of the aisle. But every time a disaster hits or a mass shooting occurs or someone of importance dies, for some reason, all the normal reports on political corruption and acts of war seem to stop dead in their tracks as if all corruption ended. And then the mainstream media just floods the news with all the blood and guts they can find about their new flashy story to keep the people glued to their TVs and cell phones. And then, have you also ever noticed this? A few days later, perhaps a week or even a month or so later, we find that the United States president or some high-ranking official in the government was somehow allowed to push through Congress a bill that, had the American people known about, would have caused nationwide protests coast to coast. But because the media was talking about their new flashy story, no one knew about it. And no, this is not a product of my end times biased imagination. In fact, I can prove it. Notice what Hillary Clinton said not too long ago when quoting Rahm Emanuel, who may have either quoted or was echoed by Philip Murawski in his book titled Never Let a Serious Crisis Go to Waste: How Neoliberalism Survived the Financial Meltdown. Hillary Clinton stated, on camera no less, that when the economic crisis, which she called a good crisis, was looming, she and her husband knew it was best at that time not to waste that good crisis, because it could be used to push forth Rome's climate change agenda as well as their so-called energy security plans attached to it. And I'm not kidding either. Check this video out.
Never waste a good crisis. And when it comes to the economic crisis, don't waste it when it can have a very positive impact on climate change and energy security. And that's what we're trying to do.
One can only imagine what they are doing behind closed doors right now as the media keeps the people in America transfixed regarding the shooting in Vegas. But I'm sure we're going to find out in a few days, weeks, or even months about some unconstitutional law that was passed without so much as a peep in the well-scripted mainstream media. And yeah, I did a video on that too. Some may think the video was comical because there's a laugh track in the background, but I didn't put the laugh track there. But it was pretty obvious. The media in the United States of America is scripted, cover to cover. And for those that seem to think this is all impossible and our government hasn't come up with a way to manipulate the press so as to keep we the people out of the loop on the Vatican's long prophesied socialistic agenda for America and then the whole world, click on the picture that I posted in the blog entry. Click on that. How on earth were they able to get all those unconstitutional laws passed without any problem whatsoever when the people of this nation are supposed to chime in via our elected officials on such things as this? As is painfully obvious for the lost and gleefully awaited for the obedient bride of Christ, we are in the very last days awaiting our Lord's arrival, and so that means we are also in the age of lying. And the only reason lying has become the norm today is because the dying God of this world knows his time is very short, and so he is no longer worried about being outed and exposed by those with the truth, because as also prophesied, the overwhelming majority of the people on this planet are in his camp, headed straight to hell, and very few, as in Noah's day, are prepared for what's about to happen. Thank you for watching. God bless.